tips is a benefit.
Yeah.
And sometimes people shy away from it and don't want to say, oh, we do tips.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because of culture. Tech is tough because what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah.
AI comes up all the time now. I think we've got to be careful with AI. I did an article the other day on LinkedIn. Andy Burnham put on there that every single person should have a face-to-face interview. And I thought, you're kidding me. How would we have the time to do that?
Yeah.
We talk about, is there a recruitment problem in hospitality? There's a retention problem in hospitality. Because if you retain people, there wouldn't be a recruitment problem.
I'm Mason from Grateful. I'm just about to sit down with Dawn Lawrence, co-founder and CEO of HUU UK. They're more than just a jobs board, but we're talking about everything to do with retention, recruitment, and the hospitality industry across the board. What youngsters are doing, how people are being savvy with looking for jobs, and everything in between. Tune in for an exciting episode.
The hospitality centres don't really do graduate programmes. So one of the things I did on HUU was I created graduate programmes which the companies can white label. Because most of the people that are doing recruitment are ex-recruitment agencies, and they don't really know much about psychometric testing, structured interviews, or they don't know much about how do I put a graduate program together. So what I did is I created these graduate programs for the different sectors, so one for hotels, one for care, one for pubs, where they can download it off HUU, but it's linked to a matrix. So when they go for this 18-month rotation, it's actually linked. They just have to white label it and put their logo. They might want to tweak it a little bit. And then someone might come in and say, well, I want to work in operations or I want to be in HR. But when they go for this 18-month rotation, when they get scored on every discipline within those areas of that department, they might turn and say, actually, Dawn, good in operations. I think you'll be you'll be great in the kitchen, or you'll be great in sales or events. Yeah. So it's a really good structure. So I just took that, really my lessons learned from when I was at Dixons. But I didn't. It's there for employers to download. So on HUU, you've got university, you've got an employers section, academic section, and a candidate section. So they actively use it within their universities. So they say, if you want to know about the different sectors of hospitality, go to HUU. And if you're looking for part-time job opportunities, go to HUU. So so it's really good. It's a brilliant tool. It's got everything from for the international students. It's got everything to do. We've got acronyms, for examples, where we say front of house, FOH. They might not know that. So it's those really simple things. It's got interview tips. It's also got the charities. It's got the trading bodies. But for employers, it's got events that are taking place across the UK for at different universities. They can, so if they've got a graduate program, they just fill out a form, send it through to HUU UK, and we distribute it to amongst our universities, saying, Firmdale are looking for a graduate. But equally, the students can say, I'm looking for a placement opportunity or graduate, and then we circulate that to all our clients.
Right. And you're not commercialising HUU, right?
No.
Is that the goodie heart?
No, I just think it's just I want to keep people into the industry. Commercialising it. Universities don't pay for it. Some of the clients have paid sponsorship because they want a banner, and they just pay for the creation of it, because we have to create it, create the banner, then it links through. So David Lloyd, for example, they wanted to get a early careers program, and they wanted to target the universities. So there was a banner on there, and it talked about David Lloyd, and when you click through, it went straight through to, within HUU UK, every employer has a microsite. So when we did like
they're an intranet type of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when they were coming, we did a hot map sort of exercise on where our candidates were going before we had microsites. With so many candidates coming and leaving. And they were obviously leaving because they wanted to find out about the companies. And so when you go to, if somebody wants to go, I don't know, if someone wants to go to Giggling Squid, very rarely do they look for a job on their website. They want to book a reservation. So when they come to us, if they're looking for a job, they come to HUU because they're looking for a job. So when Giggling Squid advertise, for example, when Giggling Squid advertise, and they do advertise with us, there's a microsite, and the candidate then clicks on the microsite, finds out about their benefits, their locations, their accolades they've got. They've some storytelling, because the microsite is we work with the clients to make sure that they represent themselves the way they want to be represented. There's always a benefit. We say you always must have a benefit section, because that's one thing I think that hospitality is very different to everybody else. You can go in, you get your own uniform. Some places you get your own uniform, fed, you get paid, you get tips. Some places even offer, living accommodation. The hotels. I was talking to Warner Hotels the other day,
right?
And they have one hotel that's got 115 rooms just for their staff, for their employees.
And that's just for anybody that works on site. You just stay there. It's part of one of the perks of the job.
Yeah. Although I shouldn't really say this, but if you're a university student and you live local and you work 30 hours a week, you can go in there and have accommodation at one hotels, have a part-time job, have living accommodation.
Wow.
It's quite
Being
cheap
savvy.
as well.
Yeah.
But they can't actively promote. They want people to work with them, not because of just for the living accommodation. But,
yes.
Where do you get that?
Yeah. Well, you don't.
Yeah. When you go to M&S, yes, you get a uniform. You don't get tips at M&S.
No.
And you're doing no different than you are when you go to other places. So,
Are you finding that these younger students, when they're coming through to these microsites, are they becoming more picky with where they want to work and that sort of thing? What are the things that they're actually looking for as element of importance of this is an employer I want to work with because of these reasons? Is there a blanket thing that you're seeing across the board?
Well, we do sessions once a month at universities where we go into universities and we take 8 to 10 employers, and we try and get them from different sectors. So someone from care, someone from leisure, someone from pubs, bars, and we talk to students about what you're looking for. And it's not split evenly, but some students are looking for just a job where they go every week. Yeah. So someone might want to work for, I don't know, Puck Jack, because they go there every week and they love it, and they know that if they work there, they can play
get free food
and get free food. But some want a long-term career. So someone really will think logically about where do I want to work and what's the long-term career progression. What we're not very good at is telling the Gen Z it's not just all about on the
whose
shop
we
floor.
Is this
hospitality
the industry?
In general,
okay,
the industry.
Fine. Yeah.
So in retail, and I go back 20 years now, when I was at Dixons, it was all about head office, then retail stores.
Right.
So people came into head office. So retail, and if they were in retail, they were in the stores, we used to say to them, there's opportunities for you at head office. So when people look at the Wetherspoons in the world, which are doing amazingly great, they don't think about Wetherspoons head office, which is massive. That's what we don't do very well. Tell them about the big, long career opportunities.
Yeah.
I think you've got to focus on 2 things. You've got to focus on, this is an opportunity where it can support you if you're studying, or if you want a long-term career, these are the other opportunities around that. So that's what we're doing on HUU, but that's also what we try and do at HJUK. I know we're a job board, and
well, your slogan is more than just a job board, isn't it?
Yeah. And we're really proud of that because we do.
Why is it like? Why do you say that?
We said it because we actively go into different places that people don't go. We don't just want to be a job board where you post your advert and a finger in the air and see how it goes. And I'm very much around quality over quantity. So we're not an Indeed of the world. Indeed do a great job. You get volume. And if you throw enough shit at the wall, it will stick, or mud at the wall, it will stick. So that's why. But you pay a lot for Indeed. And we're quite competitively priced, and we try and mark quality over quantity. So we try and target audiences that other job boards don't target. So like the career transition program, which is the armed forces, Gen Z, which is the universities, but we also work with Springboards. All our jobs go on Springboard. So we're tapping into that college and students. And then we work with industry bodies like the BII and the Institute of Hospitality, and just about to work with the NACC, which is the care sector.
Right.
So care sector body. Because when people look for a job, they go to these bodies and think, oh my God, I look for a job because I love pubs or I love hotels. Yeah.
But like you said earlier, like hospitality is so much wider than that. And it's actually quite, because of what we're doing now with tipping, we're thinking of hospitality of restaurants, bars, pubs, cafes, nightclubs, that sort of thing. But what you said is like everything that's where you're serving a drink, that is hospitality. And it's going into care, and it's going into not retail, but tourism and leisure and that element. And
well, there is retail because you go into Marks and Spencer's and I know you don't get tipping at Marks and Spencer's, but there's a coffee shop in most big Marks and Spencer's. Next, you've got a Costa coffee. But I think it was interesting because Katie talked at our conference last year. And I said in the audience, there are people from the care sector and there are people from the leisure sector where they don't tip. I said, but they need to be aware of what is happening out there, and when they market their roles and they advertise their roles, that they're competing against companies that offer tips, and tips is a benefit. And sometimes people shy away from it and don't want to say, oh, we do tips. And
why do you think that is?
I think that's because I think it's because of culture. If you look at Europe, if you look at America, you automatically tip, you tip, and nobody queries it. Where in the UK, it's something that the Gen Z population automatically tip. They don't even question it. Even if they haven't had a great service, they still tip. Well, the older generation is like, why should I tip? Because I don't do them a great service. But I think that it's moving. I think actually having courtesy tip and I think transparency is massive for me. And I always am very transparent, and I don't do bullshit because it really bores me and I'm too old for it. And so I just say, and I love people's opinions because I think that's valuable because it educates me even at my age. And but I just think with the tipping process, I think companies should say exactly where those tips are going, because they don't. Some people hide it. A couple of years ago, we all know that some companies didn't do it correctly, and that has got a bit of bad press. But if someone says, actually, you get a tip, out of that tip is split between the back of house, so it's split within the kitchen, because if they're not serving great food, the waitress at the front of the house won't be able to serve it. But actually, the waitress has to deliver it and say anything else you want with that to make sure it's all right. And if it's spread evenly, it's massive. If you're earning £100 tips a week, that's £5,000. That's £5,000 extra a year. So you may be on minimum wage, which minimum wage is quite good at the moment, and it's going up again next April. But you earn minimum wage in retail, but you don't get the tips. Do you get discounts in retail? Yeah, but you get discounts in hospitality. You get your friends, you give your friends some, and all your mates come and have dinner with me, and I'll get 20% off. You're the next best friend, really, because you're getting all these discounts.
And you finding that's like an unfair advantage, not just from a financial perspective, but you talked earlier about hospitality being the best industry when it comes to just benefits and all-round packages. Like, how do you think that's sticking with applicants?
They're looking at that massively. They look at benefits massively. And I always say, if you're going to put an advert out, make sure your benefits are at the top, because they flick through these adverts so quickly. And this brand recognition, brand awareness. So what we do at HUU UK, we have two pillars. One is about candidate attraction. The other pillar is about brand awareness. So people will apply for your job for brand awareness. And when you've got companies that have a parent brand and then they have brands underneath, for example, if you look at, if you look at Bo Paran, massive brand. If you advertise as Bo Paran, people are going to think it's Bo Paran. But if you advertise Slim Chickens, I love that. I go there every Friday and get my wings from there. I'm gonna apply for that job. So they go, brand awareness is massive. And then when you put the brand awareness, then you put the benefits. So we presume that some people have got, there's lots of presumptions. So if you got underneath those benefits that you get uniform, free parking is amazing. People don't even put it as a benefit, but it's a benefit, because if you arrive and you've had a nightmare getting there, but you've got a space when you get there, it's like, oh, this is easy, I know I've got a space, which is always good. And then your uniform, I don't have to worry about what I got to wear in the morning. So everybody is the same, because some people dress differently, and people can make judgmental decisions on that. So brand, what people wear is valuable if you've gotten it away. But also, I talk about mental health and support, which is massive. There's a lot of, when we go into universities, it's about, but I want to know what support you're going to give me for mental health, which is so much more higher in the news now, more so than ever. But if you're a BI...
Is that just like a really recent thing, or is that just crept in over time, do you think?
It's recent.
Right.
It's the last few years. We weren't even talking about it 3 years ago.
I think it's a post-COVID thing.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It is, definitely. And, I feel sorry for those kids that went through post-COVID, COVID, they had a tough time, and there is mental health issues there. But in a licensed trade charity, there's a free mental health line, and if people are part of the BII and they're part of the licensed trade charity, they can put that as a benefit. We provide a mental health line through the licensed trade charity, or financial
like an
help.
EAP or an employee wellbeing. Package.
They don't have to go out and fund it. It's there in the industry. But again, it's
People talk about like hospitality as being a huge industry, but it's very close, and it does genuinely feel like a community, because you've got all these licensed trade charities. You're doing stuff that you're not licensing to just help bring people into the industry. It's like it is nice to see, because you don't really see it in any other industry. Like, you worked at, was it Dixons Group?
Yeah.
Like you recruited for different industries, didn't you?
Yeah.
But now you've come into hospitality. Like, time's obviously gone on between them, but like, what's the differences that you've seen outside of hospitality and inside hospitality?
So when I worked for Dixons Stores Group, which is Dixons Carphone PC1 and The Link at the time, so 4 different retail, they individually worked, and then you had Mastercares where they individually worked all alone. But when I moved into hospitality, it was shocking. They were so far behind. They didn't understand the value of structured interviews. They didn't understand the value of, processing. It was. I found, this is my personal opinion, when I came into the industry, it was very much around. There was a poster on the wall, on the window saying, "I need waiting staff." That still happens, because it's sometimes it's the best idea to advertise. But the Gen Zs are so much more savvy now. They will go online and look for a job. But also years ago, it was like, especially at that corporate C-suite, I'm going to get shot for saying this, executive C-suite level, I will. It used to be, oh man, my mate, Dave's got that job because he's a mate of mine. And it used to be mate rather than experience and skills and talent. Now it has changed.
So you know what you know, saying that's where it's come from.
And in retail, we used to, when we looked at the retail, there was, when I was there was 39,000 employees across the whole of Dixons Group. And when we used to come into the retail, we had every single person had a really clear onboarding process. And before GDPR, everybody that started, we used to give them a card and say, "Do you think one of your mates would want to work here? Can you give us these details?" And so we had this talent pipeline. When I went into hospitality, they didn't think about talent pipelines. It was immediate. It's very reactive. Now I think they're smarter. Now they get talent pipelines. Now they're doing succession, and now they're using a lot of tech. Not necessarily the right way, but they are using tech.
Yeah. It definitely feels like the momentum has shifted in terms of operators adopting the right technology, whether it's for recruitment, attraction, tracking data in the business, tipping, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think because there's so much noise out there, if I'm an operator and I'm head down in the business, I'm worrying about P&L, I'm worrying about my team, I think it's quite hard to try and decipher through everything to understand what is a good tech stack, what does that look like, how am I going to attract the right people into the business without adding loads of manual work and process to the team without any due cause, basically.
Yeah, tech is tough because what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah.
And AI comes up all the time now. But AI, I think we've got to be careful with AI. Hospitality is a people business.
Give me your view on AI then.
Oh my God. Okay. So AI, I like AI. I think there's a need for it. There's a place for it, but it's got to be supervised and managed. It's got to be policed properly, because AI, if you turn around and say, especially if you use it in your recruitment process, if you say, right, I want this criteria, that criteria, this criteria, you are dismissing a massive audience. So somebody who's got all that skill set, just because they haven't got the right information on that CV, is getting missed out. But there's elements of it. I use AI all the time. I'm a big chat person. And, just everything, when I put something through, I throw it through, and it's amazing in some contexts. So for operational, if you've got to do a presentation or a proposal, yeah, fantastic. But actually in the recruitment process, by dismissing or either regretting people or taking them to the next stage, got to be really careful, and it's got to be managed. It's got to be managed a lot.
Yeah. Sean, a chap from Cali Barbecue Media, he works with Toast as well. I was sat down with him a couple of months ago, and he came up with this really great phrase or terminology. It's like H to H is human to human connection. And some of the things that we bang on about all the time is that tech does have the right place in the industry, but it needs to be something that is going to improve the operational efficiency of the business to make sure that the business can then focus on dealing with customers, because people come into a venue to have that human-to-human connection, not to deal with a chatbot or not to deal with a platform or something else. You want that, the spark and the charisma of hospitality when you're coming in. Yes, you want great food, you want great drinks, you want a great experience, but I think there is that fine line that people can end up stepping over, where you just introduce a chatbot, a process, a screen, where people don't want that. And the efficiencies and the automations and the intelligence needs to be done in the right way, I think.
And before COVID, there was a company that was launching where you could order your food at a table. And this is before COVID. You can order your food at the table, and people go, no, people aren't going to like that. They want to go up to the bar. They want to be, they don't want to order a drink if they're outside. They want to come in. And the company was way ahead of everybody. It was a company. They're not even trading now.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And brilliant company. And people just weren't into it. They just didn't get it. Then COVID hit. And now, in Alderella, they were called, would have been massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive. But, if I go out with my girls are 28 and 33, I'll go, right, I'm just going to go up to the, no, Mum, we just do it on it. Just do this, tap, 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 tap. I'll go, all right then. But hospitality, you've got a massive audience. My husband likes to go up to the bar.
Yeah.
And I don't, depending where I am, I'll either tap it or I'll go up to the bar. So you've got the one that likes to go up the bar, you've got one that does both, then you've got my kids that turn around, or kids, women, girls, kids that want to just go, yeah, that's easy. I don't have to move. I could just sit here all day in the sun, drinking with my mates.
But it's a convenience thing as well. You look at like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, people aren't leaving the sofa to eat, whereas you just have to get up, get dressed, leave the house to go eat, and look at the success of those platforms. I think it's really, really tricky for operators because you need to cater for the whole demographic of every single person that's potentially not going to, but just even the potential of them walking through the venue. Yeah. And that, I think, contributes to part of the, not confusion, but the complication when it comes to getting the right tech stack because...
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, we've got to value that some people like to go to these places, whether it's a coffee shop to work or a pub or somewhere, because some people like to interact with people, not necessarily by talking to them, just like to be in there. And I feel really comfortable going into most places on my own as a woman, where a few years ago I probably wouldn't do. I mean, I'm still a little bit selective. There's a dodgy pub down the road, but I still I don't feel that threatened like I did years ago when it's like, I didn't feel uncomfortable when I'm sitting in the hotel on my own bar. Now it's quite natural. Yeah. So things are evolving all the time, and that's where tech needs to evolve. But it's your H to H, your human to human thing. It's definitely we can't dismiss that. And even in the recruitment process, I did an article the other day on LinkedIn. Andy Burnham put on there that every single person should have a face-to-face interview. And I thought, you're kidding me. How would we have the time to do that? Yeah. So there's everybody gets an opportunity. So do you do it for AI where you eliminate people? And do you do it by a Q&A where they answer questions? And if they don't answer the right questions, then they're sort of rejected. It's really, really hard. So what he's suggesting is in reality would not work in hospitality. We talk about, is there a recruitment problem in hospitality? There's a retention problem in hospitality. Because if you retain people, there wouldn't be a recruitment problem. So with the retention, people need to focus on, we were talking a couple of, when we were talking about some questions, we were talking about L&D and how important L&D is and learning development. And learning development should be positioned as a retention tool, not a learning development tool. Because if you don't develop people and give them the tools and they feel valued, then they may leave. So then it's going to become a problem because you've got recruitment, then you've got to train them again. So it's, I always look at training development as a retention tool. To me, that's massive, the retention here. I don't think people feel valued. I don't think they get asked, how's your day been? I always ask my team, how's your day, what you've been up to? And no matter what I always ask that because it's really important because then you understand what's going on in their life and that's how it's affecting the business. And I'm a big, massive advocate of onboarding. You've got to get the onboarding right. It's about the way people feel. And people are excited to take their ideas. I say to my team, got an idea, give me lots of ideas. If I'm not around, write it down. I say, write your ideas down and let's look at them in 3 months' time if we can't implement them straight away, or let's look at them at the next month. And when we look at them, they've got some great ideas. So, or they may turn around and say, actually, Dawn, that was a really shit idea, wasn't it? But we listen to them, and I love my team. I love their opinions. I like listening to what they want, what their suggestions are, because every idea is a good idea. But rather than just go, and this is what happens a lot because we're all busy. No. I always feel you need to give an explanation because if they've put that effort in to have an idea, then you should have the courtesy to say, actually, it's a great idea, but it won't work in our business because of X, Y, Z.
do you think that's why people aren't hearing ideas from teams, or people don't feel heard because people are busy and because hospitality is so under the cosh at the moment? Or do you think it's something else?
I think it's the really hospitality at the moment. It's really we know it's really tough because you've got to have enough people on the floor to service everybody. But also, if you have too many and no one's coming in, it's a real massive cost implication. But one of the companies that used to do it really well, I don't know if they still do it, was Peach Pub Company. And everything began with P. They had poddies and they had their everything. It was just so funny. But what they did, they had a peachy parade. Every morning they had a peachy parade where they not literally line up, but everybody gathered together and they all made sure they looked okay. They knew the menus. They knew everything. That 15-minute consultation in the morning saved those people all day long, and they felt part of a community. Some people just walk in, put their bag down, put their uniform on or not, and just walk out on the floor. And that's the bit that's missing. I think it goes back to, and everybody's got time for it, is listening. For me, management is a big issue in hospitality, because if the manager doesn't right, or the manager doesn't do it right, or doesn't listen to his team or support his team, there's some amazing managers out there, really, really smart managers out there, but the ones that listen to the team will retain their team.
And what other than like listening to the team do you think like makes a great manager in hospitality?
Well, I think you need to value their opinion. You need to value the team member, and also ask them about succession. What do you want to do? Do you want to, do you want to go, if it's a pub, do you want to go on a brewery course? If it's a hotel, do you want to spend a day being a concierge or in housekeeping? Give them the opportunity where they feel valued, and also give them the opportunity about succession. The ones that keep the employees are the ones that I think where employees feel valued. And don't be afraid to give them projects. Don't think that you've got to do it all yourself. The minute you turn around and say, I've got lots of skills, but my team, I always try and recruit people that are better than me, because if they're better than me, they do a greater job, and I'm learning every day, and I love that. I love that. So I think with managers, they've got to listen, they've got to develop them, they've got to value what they've got to say, but also they've got to be there as a bit like a mentor and an advisor. When the Gen Z comes in, they've got no idea sometimes of their opportunities they have. And sometimes a bit of hard love is good, because they will learn from that.
And just going back to the hospitality doesn't have a recruitment problem, it's a retention problem.
Yeah.
We all know that retention has been a buzzword in hospitality for ages. Do you think that's a trickle-down effect of not having these formal processes? So then there's no succession planning and career progression paths. It's just a very casual industry where people work that people fall into as the first job.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have a demonstrable impact on people staying in the industry?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there is still a bit of a recruitment problem, and you still need to advertise your jobs on Hospitality Jobs UK.
Plug.
Plug. But there's everybody says we get lots of candidates, but again, it's the right candidates. But going back to the retention piece, is that it's good to have a team of 10 solid people in the team rather than have 15 in the team and you're not paying them attention. Because those 10 people will work harder for you, and they support you, and they will give the service that you want. And every business is so different now. You've got the QSRs, it's fast service, the KFCs and McDonald's and Burger Kings, it's fast service. So it's a different type of thing. But again, the best thing is when somebody smiles at you and says, "Hi, how you doing? Everything okay?" Because that person, and this is where I think hospitality is brilliant. The person can walk in feeling like crap, and someone says, "Hi, how's your day?" And someone says that to you, and actually that could change someone's whole life. So I think actually the role of hospitality is massive, and we're talking about mental health and well-being. It's massive to those customers that walk in and say, "You're in the coffee shop. What's your name today?" Dawn, and it always comes up with DORNE, sometimes down, and it just makes me smile. That down is down today, but that extra customer service, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah,
we do it well.
Yeah, I agree. I think those moments of magic, and like you said, it might even be small things where I had it recently, I think, where I got like a smiley face in one of my cups.
Yeah.
Where they'd written my name as well, and it's like, it's the smallest thing ever, but I think it can definitely have an impact on how you then go about your rest of your day. If you are feeling down, then you're right. But it's also like when you look at different elements of hospitality, you look at local pubs and places like that, it's where people go to connect with other people, right? And I think that's what's going on in the media. People are, slating what's going on because all these pubs are shutting. They're the cornerstone of communities where you may not be in a big city, you might be in a rural area, for example, and that's the only place that you can go to meet new people, connect with new people, or meet friends, for example. And I think it plays more of an important part in people's lives than you actually think, and you end up taking hospitality for granted a little bit.
What we don't talk about is all the places that are opening.
Yeah.
We talk about, and I know the pubs are being affected massively. I live in a village, there's 5 pubs around my village, and every time I go there's always someone in it. And I feel really comfortable going in there on my own, grabbing a bottle of wine, grabbing a glass of wine, grabbing a bottle of wine, sitting in my local pub and just sitting there. And I feel really comfortable, and everybody's so friendly. Everybody's friendly. But what we don't talk about is all these new opportunities. So if I wanted to come and work in a pub at the moment, I'd think, do I want to work in a pub? Because everybody's telling me they're closing. Actually, it's great working in a pub. It's the best thing, and and again, it's under that hospitality umbrella. So I think we should be talking about the good news stories. We don't talk about enough good news stories.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Because, like
good.
I said, there are loads of openings, but even diversification of the industry, like competitive socializing, wasn't a thing.
No,
what 5, 6, 7 years ago, and like all those different opportunities that are being presented, and younger people that aren't necessarily wanting to drink as much anymore, perhaps across the board. It's giving them an opportunity to go and do something that's engaging, that's stimulating, but they're not just sat siloed at home.
Yeah, I agree. And I take my hat off to Wetherspoons. They're so everyone, and do I like a Wetherspoon? Depending on the location. They open a Wetherspoons in Marlow and they open Wetherspoons in Beaconsfield, and you go in there and it's got chandeliers and it's very, very the way they decorate and the way they sort of refurbish their Wetherspoons now are amazing. But every Wetherspoons you go in is full, and the reason why is because of cost. I go to a pub and I get charged 10. I won't say the pub companies. One particular pub that really bugs me. I go and my husband will order a beer and a glass of wine. It comes to 18 quid. And we're talking about outside London. I go to a pub just literally 100 yards down the line, a glass of wine, same beer. It's like 12 quid. And it's like, it's their overheads. And I think sometimes I know there's lots of overheads, but sometimes I think that's why Gen Z won't go out, because it's expensive.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's why people are like young? Well, I actually did read recently that younger people are dining out more, like the numbers are actually
dining
increasing.
Out more.
Yeah.
I don't think they're just going to the pub.
But do you think that's because they're not wanting to drink, and like there's this new generation that are wanting to be a bit more health conscious? Or
well, I don't know. Both my daughters they go to the gym all the time. One works at Davy Lloyd, one works at Champneys, so they go to the gym. But they like a session. They like to go to the pub and have a session. But they'll always during the week they'll always go out because they go out for something to eat as well. Right. But if they had a choice between 2 pubs and one is to be charging £18, the other one's charging £12, they will go to that £12 pub. Mm-hmm. Because they are very much around. And I think this is what I love about Gen Z. It's not necessarily where you're going, it's about the people you're with.
Yes.
I think that's big. I actually think that as well.
Yeah.
Not just all about the Gen Z. These oldies think it as well. Because I do value the fact that I think where I go, you can go to a Michelin star restaurant, or you can go to a local cafe, and the service is it's all about the service, but it's about the food as well. And it's, you go with a group of mates, it's great.
Yeah. Well, it's about people at the end of the day, isn't it? And just going back to that retention point, I was looking at the stats on the report that you guys did.
Yeah.
And I think it was 72% of people said that the most important thing that they valued at work was working with other people that they liked. Actually higher than like pay.
Yeah.
And it just shows the importance of you spending the majority of your waking time with these people.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you get on with people who are decent, they're honest.
You spend more time at work than you do at home, don't you?
Yeah.
You spend, because obviously, you go out every day and you spend more time. You want to be in a place where you like the people you work with. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes people, I think that's what makes, pay is really important. It's really important. Mm-hmm. But if you advertise something and it's going to be 1 or 2 pennies more, that isn't going to make them come to you. Money isn't just going to make people come to you. What is going to make people come to you is actually those benefits and how you look after them. But it's when you go in and you touch down and the person does their first day. It's how do they feel on their first day? I remember years ago, when I started at Dixons Stores Group years ago, and I was like 25 years old, and I walked in, and they sat me down on a chair, and they said, right, we'll be with you in 10 minutes. I was still sitting there an hour and a half later.
Really?
And I thought, bloody hell, I've got to change this. And I did. When by the time I left, there was a real, structured onboarding process.
Did you go straight into recruitment there?
No.
Right.
I worked in customer relations. I was crap at it because I had to answer something like 18 letters a day, and people were, and I was getting all these letters from these old people saying, and I used to go, yeah, run it off. But so I was doing about 8 a day, and back in the day when people used to write letters in, and then by default I went into recruitment. They said that they wanted
because of that experience.
Not because of that experience. It's because they wanted somebody at head office at Dixons, and they said we want somebody to respond to people that aren't applying for jobs. And I said, well, are you not replying to them? They said, we haven't got the capacity to do that. I said, I'll do that. And that's what I did. Originally, and when I left Dixons, I was European Head of Recruitment, looking after UK and Europe, 39,000 employees,
wow.
53 staff.
Uh-huh.
Loved it. But I left, not because I didn't enjoy the job. There was no flexible work in there. So I had to be at work at 20 to 9 and leave at 10 past 5, and I had 2 kids. Yeah. We're going back, I'm 60, so we're going back a few years, Mason, where they didn't have breakfast clubs, afternoon clubs, evening clubs. So... and that's when I started my journey on working for myself.
Nice.
Yeah. Don't regret it. I don't think I'm employable now. But I really care about making sure that people are treated fair, but also giving, I talk about this voice and transparency. I do strongly believe that. And, but I think hospitality is, out of all the sectors I've ever worked in, is the best.
Well, on that point, if you were looking at, let's say, recruiting someone in a warehouse versus someone in hospitality, you've obviously talked about hospitality being one of the best places of benefits and tips and everything else. Like, you're presenting 2 opportunities to somebody. Like, what's your outlook on pro hospitality or pro warehouse, and like, what's the conclusion that you'd help them come to, knowing what you know about the industry?
If you compare yourself to a warehouse, so I go back to, I don't know if you know Katie Moses from Cam Insights. She's got a saying, it's not work-life balance, it's life-work balance. And I think what we need to do in hospitality is show people actually that we will employ someone and work part-time during those really busy shifts on Thursday, Friday and Saturday, but you don't have to work the night shifts. People going to work for warehouses because they know they're going to do a 40-hour week or a 35-hour week. They're going to get a certain amount of money, but they don't get all those benefits that we can offer them. And I think I think we're near enough there. I think we've sort of broken the back where we've turned around and said to people, actually, it's not about working 60, 70-hour weeks now. It just doesn't happen. It used to happen before COVID, and not too far behind before that. It used to happen. Well, I used to be speaking to chefs and they're doing 60, 70-hour weeks, but they loved cooking. They loved, serving they're doing their food. But I don't want those type of people to leave and go to warehouses and go to Just Eats. I want them to stay in the industry. And this is why I'm a big advocate of our campaign Clear, which is raising the profile of those other sectors. So if somebody, needs a different work-life balance or life-work balance because of their circumstances, whether they've got to care for a parent or they've got family, and just say you're a chef and you're thinking, actually, I'm going to go and work in a warehouse. But are you aware that you can go and work for a care sector? By 8 o'clock, you're at home because they don't serve food in the evening in these care facilities. And some of these care facilities are like 5-star hotels with care facilities. That's how I describe them. We're not talking about the NHS. We're talking about these amazing
then
places.
You see them, it's ridiculous.
Amazing.
Well, it's not ridiculous, it's great, but it's the standard that they go to is immense.
Yeah, it's amazing. But but also that they might want to work in an environment, and I think, we were talking about 0-hour contracts a couple of weeks ago, and 0-hour contracts work both ways, because it works for the candidates, and it works for the client, it works for the company as well. But you've got to always be on your toes in hospitality. So how can you attract those people? Why would I go to a warehouse? Well, I can go to a warehouse or logistics, like the Amazons of the world. It's not an exciting job. It's not great. You don't meet, you work with your colleagues, but you're working all day long. Why would you not come into hospitality? We're exciting. It's fun. It's a community. It's a family. We listen to you. And also you can get some free food, and you get good money, and you get some tips. So straight away, instead of earning the same money in the warehouse, you're earning 5, 6, 7, 8 grand more just by doing a great job. So that's the bit we've got to, those storytelling. I'm massive on storytelling.
And you talked about Clear then. Tell me about Clear.
So Clear is just an initiative that raising the profile of those sectors outside the normality of hospitality. When people think about hospitality, they think about pubs, bars, restaurants, hotels.
Mm-hmm.
So Clear is just an acronym which stands for Care, Leisure, Entertainment, Attractions and Retail. So you've got the care facility. It's those people. If you look at a care facility, you've got everything from operations to housekeeping to chefs to operations, HR. And so that definitely fits under the hospitality umbrella. Then you look at leisure, you think, well, how does that fit under hospitality? You've got that service element in the spas. You've got the serviceman element in the leisure sector. And also you've got, you go and get your juice from there. But it's anybody basically goes back to serving a drink over the counter. Mm-hmm. When you look at entertainment, if you go into a cinema or you go into a theatre, that entertainment element or casino, for example, that entertainment element, you get served food and drink there. And then you look at attractions, massive, I'm not just talking about the Chessingtons, the Legolands, the Alton Towers, that all have hospitality facilities, but also I'm talking about the London Eye and those type of places. And it's raising the profile that they fit under hospitality. And then I talk about retail, that people go, how does that fit under hospitality? You go into Harrods, Selfridges, Fortnum & Masons, M&S, Tesco's. It's a coffee shop or a restaurant in some, so it's like, how do I raise that profile? So I'm talking constantly about people don't leave the industry, because people will leave the industry if they only know about pubs. Can a pub, someone working in a pub, easy transition into hotels? They can transition to any of these sectors, and that's what we need to be doing, is raising the profile of those sectors under under the hospitality umbrella. Mm. You've got all these different sort of raindrops, which is all different sectors.
Yeah. And what were you saying earlier? You want to make the UK hospitality industry like America.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think if you look at America, if you look at Europe, I think Europe, you go to Europe, when does somebody, when you're in Spain or Ibiza, the person that's serving you normally isn't a young person. It's normally a 30, 40, 50-year-old guy or woman that's been there for years, because they know the quality, it's a great job, because at the end of the day, you can go home and not necessarily worry about it. You make people happy, you serve people great food, and you get tips. So if you look at America and Europe, they are looked as, a front of house is looked at as a really high profile job. And that's what we need. That's
where the term career waiters come from.
Yeah.
Career waiter, waitress.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. And I just think that's what we need to do. We need to sort of keep on raising the profile of it. And, the work we do at universities is about raising the profile of, most of these international students, as I was talking to you about earlier, they think, I just want to work in a hotel. Why? Then we talk about other things. So that's when we separate ourselves, why we're different from other job boards, in the sense that we target those those career transition program. 18,000 leave every year. Been there one day. And actually, interestingly, we did a survey with the career transition program, which is the Army, Navy and RAF. And what were the 3 top jobs they wanted to work in? And it was operations, chefs and pubs. And I was saying, pub? Do you want to work in a pub? Why is that? And it wasn't about necessarily working it's about running a pub. What they wanted to do, they come out they didn't want to work for anybody. They needed somewhere to live. So they run a pub, they got somewhere to live, they got no one, the only person
answerable to
themselves. So that was really interesting. I didn't think that would come out. Then it was operations, and then it was catering. So that was interesting. Right. Yeah.
And just have a sideway movement on that, on imposter syndrome, because that was one of the things that was up year on year on the report. Why do you think that is, and what do you think is going on with youngsters coming into the industry, or people that just exist in the industry now?
Yeah, I think managers have to be managers. I think the management, you've got to be training those managers. We were talking about this a few weeks ago about management, and actually when they recruit, who's given them the tools to know how to recruit best, and giving that person a really good experience that if they don't get the job, they're not successful. They walk away feeling they've had a fair opportunity. So the management is the people that actually have the biggest impact of their team. So recruiting managers is massive, because if they don't get that right and they don't look after their team, but you need to also invest in your manager by giving them training and development, whether it's leadership style, whether it's communication, whatever they need. So that's where I think that is the management element of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for coming on. One last question.
Yes.
We ask everybody.
Okay.
What are you grateful for?
What am I grateful for? Oh my God. I'm grateful for, it's going to sound so deep, okay? I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for memories. I'm grateful for my kids and my friends and my family. And actually, the older you get, you realise that possessions don't mean anything. Memories mean everything. And when you go away, every memory, if you look at all your memories, is created normally in a hospitality environment.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on, Dawn.
Thank you, Mason.
Great
Thank you for having me. It's good to chat to you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.